All right, I think we are now, streaming on YouTube. Yeah, what I was saying, it's kind of weird how this whole process has to go down because, so YouTube, well, actually,
that's interesting.
First, so I think we're live everywhere now. All right. So it's kind of weird because first thing that has to happen is the software that we're using is one of very few, if not one or two, that has the ability or capability of streaming on all social channels.
Oh, wow.
So I am streaming on the Chris Weir Experience YouTube channel and 2 Second Media YouTube channel. Same thing for Facebook. I'm doing the Chris Weir Experience, 2 Second Media, and my personal Facebook. And then we're also going to the Twitter accounts for both. So it's streaming out to all of these accounts simultaneously, all at the same time. There's very, very, very few, if I'm not quite sure of many others. As a matter of fact, I don't know of even one other. There's got to be at least one or two out there that do it. But I don't even know of one other one that can simultaneously broadcast to all of them. But what happens is we have to fire them up, right? So YouTube takes a little bit longer to get going live. So
it's like a diesel engine.
It is. It's weird because I'm broadcasting from the software, right? So it's like Candace was talking to me last week, and she's like, well, it's not that hard to go live from Facebook because we had a stutter there at the beginning of one of my live broadcasts. It's not that hard to go live. All you got to do is hold your phone out in front. Well, we're not using our phone to broadcast to Facebook, and I'm going to 3 Facebook channels and 2 YouTube channels and 2 Twitter channels and the live stream channel. So we're going to all of these channels at one time.
So almost you have to have all of those kind of up and running, and then you almost like drop the feed into each one of those.
Basically, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day,
do I get things just like that? Do I understand?
You do.
Is that awesome or what?
Well, the thing about so when we get started, like when we launch, YouTube goes first, right? Because YouTube has to get fired up, and it takes right at about 60 to 90 seconds for us to actually be live on YouTube.
Interesting.
So what I was doing past couple of weeks is I'll just go live to every channel, and then there's 90 seconds of sitting there watching that about to go live graphic, exactly, right? So now, by kicking it off and going to YouTube first and getting that thing going, as soon as they're kind of up and running, then I can open up for all the other channels, and then we end up going live. So I think we got it this week. I feel like
there's still the need for the board. There's still the need for the switching and the moving.
Well, you have to, right? I mean, that's and I think it's kind of funny too because I was talking last year. I've been talking for a year about going live and how that's going to start becoming popular, and there's going to be more and more and more people doing it just because of the organic possibilities of live, right? Are just so completely different than just even recorded
all of a sudden it's
video.
not as scripted, it's not as edited, it's not as anything. It's a little more genuine and real.
Yeah. I mean, and that's even even from the quality standpoint, I completely agree. I like off the cuff a little bit more. There's certain formats, like I'm still doing the Daily Weirdo, and it's for the most part scripted because I'll get on soapboxes, and my intention of being a 3 to 4 minute video becomes a 10-minute video if I'm not careful. So I use a script more for guardrails for me, but I do like the off-the-cuff conversation. I've been talking authenticity for so long and being authentic to your audience, and I think the live broadcast does that very well because you don't really have the chance to edit it. I mean, you're just kind of talking. So yeah, and we're starting to see that. I'm starting to see a lot of companies doing lives now. I was looking today, and 2 or 3 companies that I've had my eye on for years are now doing lives. So it's something I've been talking about for a while, and it's kind of funny to see it actually taking off now. And there's a lot of companies that are doing it because it's a cool format. I enjoy it. I love it. We're going to get to a point, right, where we get actually good at this. And when I say we, of course, I mean me, right? That is no reflection on you whatsoever.
What's this we, Kimo-san?
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to get to a point where I'm able to get all of this stuff going and get the broadcast rolling and be able to monitor comments and that kind of stuff in the middle of the show. I'm going to need probably an extra set of hands in here to help me do that. So we'll get to that point, and we'll be able to interact. This software allows us.
So you'll have more of a producer, actually.
Yeah.
Producer.
Well, yeah. I mean, to degrees. Sure. Yeah. I mean, at whatever level it is, producer for us. So, I mean, it would be a person sitting here.
Well, Dan
hitting
is on
the buttons.
line 3.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants to talk about problems with clients. Who doesn't want to talk about that, Dan? No, just kidding.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Wow, you're even running.
I have my own show.
Go
right
for
now.
it, man. Go for it. Just run the show. But yeah, we'll be able to have call-ins. We'll be able to have chats through just the social media. I mean, they'll be able to do a comment, and we'll be able to chat with them there. We'll even be able to have remote guests where they'll be able to either call it video call or Skype or whatever the case is. We can toss them on as well. So all of that's coming. We're going to evolve this, and I think it's going to grow quite a bit. I love this format. I've gotten more positive feedback about our live format than I did on all of our recorded format before. And I'm like, well, thanks. Because the recording part of it was a lot of work. That was a lot of editing. I put tons of hours on that. For the live, I hit go and stop. And it's like, yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. So hey, I like it better too. So I appreciate the feedback. But so what's going on, man? Give me an update. What's going on with Lineworks?
What is going on with Lineworks? Need to go back to all of your stuff regarding patience. Need to go back about all your stuff about patience.
Yeah.
Need to go back to all of your stuff about how much we love our clients.
Yeah.
And all. But yeah, it's just an interesting time.
Yeah.
It's there are several things that are relating to codes where a lot of cities are going to a 2018 code, which means the codes are updating for some cities but not for others. So that means there's changes for some cities and not for others.
Right.
I am in a process right now where I have a contractor saying, hey, I've never had to do this before. Well, it's something I think that needs to be done. And so we've gotten into an interesting concept about designing for what's normally done, designing to the code,
right,
or actually designing for towards liability.
Right.
Which is an interesting concept, which I started talking to another contractor about because I needed to get a third opinion,
right,
on this, and tried to present my case.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say tried to present the situation without as much bias, as
So when you're talking liability, are you talking like are we talking about like handicap accessibility and this kind of stuff?
It's basically about electrical safety type of thing.
Interesting.
And this is something where, hey, is this occupant really a medical occupancy, or is it not a medical occupancy? Because there are certain codes and all that relegate or delegate, or not delegate, regulate. There you go. There was one of the gates.
Yeah.
Watergate, whatever gate.
Relegate, regulate, whatever.
I almost had like a song going there.
Hey.
Rap. Hey, the architect, never mind. You don't want to go there. You don't want to see that. But it's one of those things where, hey, just in case you need these things set in place, if you're putting an electronic device for therapy or any other reason onto a patient, there needs to be the thing called a redundant ground, which basically helps if there is to be a short circuit. It's basically a backup for the short circuit that someone doesn't get shocked.
And
type of thing.
And so this is not code today?
No, it is code today, but there's a question of, does this code basically focus on, does it include this one type, basically physical therapist?
Okay, gotcha.
And some of this other stuff. And so, I asked some people about it. I actually go online to some of the forums and all, and all the guys who are physical therapists say no, it's not, and all the guys who are in electrical say, well, it could be.
Right.
And then it goes to the idea of, well, who decides is one thing, which the code also says, but also, do I decide to designed towards liability, where it's great if you don't think I need it, but it's my stamp and I'm the one who's responsible for it. I'm going to have it in there because it's protecting me and ain't protecting any suits, or any future liabilities that I might have. And, for me, a little letter, saying, oh, hey, Mr. Architect, we're okay with you not doing it this way because it's not, fully defined, is not really good enough for me as the architect to I think cover myself.
Well, what kind of is it? I mean, are we talking about significant additional construction costs?
Yeah, you are, because basically the redundant ground, with them it would be, because we're going into an existing facility that was not a physical therapist before, so there's no, how can I say it? There's nothing set in for it.
Right.
So they literally have to run, more of what's called almost a hospital grade MC cable. And, it might be, hey, it might only be 10 feet up to the next junction box. It might be a home run that goes from that outlet, 80 feet to the panel.
Right.
So, that's just one of those things of scenarios that you find yourself in being a, sole proprietor, single, business owner. Whereas if I was if I was working for another firm, I would have just, okay, hey, boss man, what do you want to do?
Right.
You make the decision. Your company.
Yeah. Well, now, that's
hey,
the thing.
Your company is now your company.
Yeah. Well, and we had I can't remember if it was you and I that did the episode or if it was just me by myself. I don't remember. But talking about being the last line of defense for your business. Yeah. And when you're a sole proprietor, you are the last line of defense. I mean, it is, the buck stops with you. Right. I mean, that's a cliche, but it's so true. Is every
the way, the buck
final
starts and stops.
Yes, it does. Especially this time of year.
Yes.
April 15th, God bless you. But
the new April Fool's Day. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Yes, it is. It's the Fool's Day for sole proprietors. But yeah. So, well, you touched on something in when you started there, on something that's hitting with me as well as patience, right? Because I mentioned, I mentioned that to you before we even went live. Is the exercising of the patience?
Right.
Is, oh my gosh, it's easy to preach that sermon. God, it's hard to live that sermon. It is hard to live that sermon.
I bet everyone out there because I think we've done a few of these on patience. Yeah. Everyone out there is like, oh, yeah, preach it, brother. I hear you.
Yeah.
And then you go to put it in place, and it's like, got it.
Yeah.
We all turn into the Homer Simpson,
Yeah.
Type of thing.
It is.
It's tough because you lose yourself in there. It's the idea of, for another project, I'm trying to explain something to a set of landlords that I see it as their, bear with me on this thing. Basically, it's their responsibility to make sure that the suite that they're leasing to this guy has enough parking, not my responsibility to make sure that their site has enough parking for their client. And they're like, we have plenty of site. Well, do you have it per, the city standards? Well, we have it, we have enough parking. Is it per the city standards? Here are the city standards. Can you show me that it is per this? And, if it's funny because if they would ask me to do it, I would say, sure, for a fee, but I need this information.
Right.
And I'm not like I'm trying to say, hey, I want you to pay me for this one thing and all this. I want them to realize, hey, this is something important.
Right.
That if we go to the city and we can't prove there's enough parking for this guy, I've just wasted, 3 months of my time doing this.
Sure.
You're going to have a client who's thinking, or a tenant that's thinking, wait a minute, so you have me on a 5-year lease and I can't open my business because your site doesn't have enough parking. And it's just that patience of, somehow saying things well and nicely to, hey, do you understand the severity of this problem that we might have?
Right.
Not that we do have, but I don't want to get to a point where I find out it is a problem.
Right. Yeah.
And then also patience because hopefully my clients don't watch this. I guess. I'm just thinking about that now. Hey, we're Where's that foot? I need to shoot it real quick.
Do I have a bleep button?
Do I have a bleep? But I mean, also just on the side of being paid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always Well,
and that is so true. And again, so I'm firing up my second agency. It's starting to roll a little bit. We're getting busy. Like not quite like you, but we're definitely in the weeds, and that's where a lot of my exercise and patience is coming back in. But that is one of the things. I used to always tell when we were doing where we would literally 50 to 100 projects a month. I mean, we were just slamming out projects all the time in the old agency, and we would run into this issue quite frequently where we would have slow paying clients. There we go. I get it out.
There you go. Yeah,
easy for me to say. And the one thing that I always tried to preach to my clients was, don't make me work twice for my money. I work really, really hard the first time around to earn my money. Please don't make me work just as hard a second time around to collect it. And there's just those clients that for whatever reason don't recognize the importance of getting payments in a timely manner. And it especially for sole proprietors, small businesses specifically, like what you and I have, very small business, it's incredibly relevant. I mean, that's very, very important for us,
like one client right now, because we had to hire a consultant, and part of the thing that I do with my clients is, just to make it easier and quicker, is I pay the submittal fees and I pay the permit fees, just so that they can pay me back. Because for me to say, oh, it's this amount, they write me a check, and then the city says, oh, well, we messed up. Hey, it's actually this amount. Well, I can't use that check. So, I mean, it just saves time, for me to do those things. On one project, I have right now $5,000 of my money invested in your project that I have not even been paid for what my actual proposal fee was. But I still have, I have already paid this consultant because I don't want him to charge you,
Right. And just for clarification, the use of you is not me. Right. So you're not doing a project for me and I haven't paid you. This is somebody else that's out there. Just want to clarify that.
This is one of my clients, who I don't drink scotch with.
Right. Understood. Understood. Well, and you even have a greater dynamic. We talked about this last week when we were off the air, just in conversation. And something I had not even thought about that you deal with as an architect is the construction loan and the disbursements from the bank.
Oh, yeah.
So you've even got a further dynamic that you're having to battle with your clients, that quite frankly your clients are sometimes even having to battle, is getting disbursements on time from the bank to be able to pay you.
I mean, it's the same type of, cart before the horse, chicken before the egg. It's all that thing. Well, who needs to get paid? And the architect is usually kind of the first guy,
right?
And it's like, anyone? Anyone?
Hello.
Hello. I know my fee is basically minuscule compared to the construction budget of most of these things, but hello.
Right.
Couldn't have done it without these things. Help me out here.
Did you notice that invoice by chance it's sitting over there?
And then there's some clients that are great clients,
sure, but
that are just like, sometimes they go, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that, just because of all the other stuff that's coming in too.
Sure.
And so it's definitely a lesson in patience.
Oh yeah.
And a lesson in good email writing, to not say, hey, where's the bleep my money? But saying, hey, I know this time is hectic, if you could please, just review this invoice and, get it to me as soon as you can.
Right.
Because I don't want to charge you a late fee, but, per the contract, I am able to do so, but I really don't want that to happen. So could you please
and that's
whimper, beg.
That's one of those interesting dynamics and differences in B2B, business to business operations versus like a B2C, where generally speaking, B2C, business to consumer, like if I'm a retail establishment or something, they're paying for it before they even walk out of the store with it. Where B2B, when we're working business to business, we're dealing in very different payment terms, invoicing terms.
Right.
Many businesses work out a net 30, net 15, and just the terms and the payments are just completely different. In marketing, a lot of what we do is dispersed over time. So we're talking about a lot of monthly payments when we're talking campaigns or retainers or something like that. So it's a different it's a different billing structure altogether, and we just deal with. It's a different
paradigm.
It is.
The goal is the same to A, invoice, B, get paid. But,
simple enough, right?
A lot of my things, you might think I'm a B2C, but I think a lot of times I'm a B2B as well. Because basically, who I'm
You're
doing
definitely a
work for,
B2B.
No, I didn't think you thought that.
No, you're definitely a B2B. I mean, you don't do residential,
business,
right? So you're only doing commercial stuff. You're absolutely B2B. No question about it.
All right, good for me. I'm glad we cleared that up.
All right.
It's been about a year. I'm glad this happened.
All right, so show's over. That's it.
We got it done. We nailed it. No. But and that's one of those things.
Yeah.
And it's even harder, especially dealing with dentists, to think, hey, would you let a client lapse 30, 60, 90 days on a bill? Which is also hard because usually the person that I'm dealing with on that isn't the person who's dealing with those finances for their business, because their business is obviously, a lot larger.
Right.
To have a billing department, to have a
Wouldn't that be nice?
Insurance department, to have, a staff. But also having, and in that case, it really, for most doctors, as long as they're seeing, the money's coming in, it's not really a giving up, as far as having a staff, it's not really giving up what they do. Mm-hmm. It's just the business side of it.
Right.
And that's where I'm having some problems in hiring and all of that. Of the people who I want to hire, I would have to give up some of the stuff that I like to do.
Right.
Because it's not really the business side that's overwhelming. It's the production side. It's the,
right.
And all that. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of hiring, that is something that, you and I talked about last week, and you have been encouraging me on, and we kind of put together a little bit of a strategy for my business last week. And so I'd been thinking about it for some time, not just the past week, but bringing in and starting to scale 2-Second Media, which has been a long time coming, I might add. But I did spend a lot of time with this business. It's been so long since I was in startup, and I think, we've talked about all these different episodes that we've done. I mean, we're up to almost 50 episodes that we've produced over the past few months, 4 months. I mean, we've produced quite a bit of content, and I think, the stuff that we talk about is or the topics that I like to talk about when I've picked the topic and I'm pushing it out there is more times than not I'm preaching to myself.
Oh, yeah.
So, when we talk about patience, when we talk about, when we talk about being in the weeds and eating shit and getting through the tough times and getting through all of that and pushing through and positivity and all these different things, right? Getting your ducks in a row, not in a circle, and on and on and on. These are lessons that I have taken through the years, right? That I remember dealing with through the years.
And you're still getting schooled on today.
You're not kidding.
Oh,
I mean, you're not kidding.
There's been times when you say, hey, Scott, we're going to be talking about this today. It's like, have you bugged my office? Seriously, did you bug? Is there a camera there or something? Because this is exactly what I need to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or can talk about, I should say.
Well, no, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's where, kind of I'm at right now is certainly in that stage where we are beginning for the first time. We've spent the past year really developing 2-Second Media and really making forming this company to be very different. I've experienced agencies of all different kinds. I ran an agency for a little over 10 years. So like I've been exposed to how a lot of agencies operate, and I am using 2-Second Media as my chance to right wrongs that I've done before. I've made plenty of mistakes through my career. So learning from those mistakes and doing things a little bit differently that would be more effective or efficient and certainly more successful and productive for our clients. But then also at the same time, taking some of those nuances and common practices in the ad agency world that are always annoying for a business or anybody for that matter, and basically throwing them out and coming up with a new solution to replace that practice. So I've spent a lot of time and effort and energy and a lot of resources and just honing in 2-second media into a practice that's just a little bit different. It's an agency that's just completely different. Not a little bit different. It's completely different, and especially for small businesses. That's been my focus from the beginning. Small businesses are just so underserved. I mean, most small businesses don't think that they could afford an ad agency.
Right.
And quite frankly, they can't for normal agencies. So building a solution that is both affordable for a small business owner who has very limited budget. Number one, it's got to be affordable. Number two, it's still got to work, right? It's got to be just as effective. But then number three, and this has been the hard part, it's got to be profitable for me. It's got to be profitable for my business. So that has been a huge work in progress and something I've put a lot of my creative energy into. And talk about exhausting all the energy from a creative and business standpoint. So now we are at a point where I'm comfortable scaling up and bringing in some account executives, and so now we're going through hiring process now. So now we're going to start hearing content about getting in the resumes and doing the interviews and this, because now all that stuff's about to start with me. So you are getting close. Actually, we've talked about that.
Very close. With getting that drafting service online for me. So
sweet.
I am hoping not this job, but this next job should be closer in my prototype, because I've had about 4 or 5 jobs in a row here that have been outside of my prototype that I can't really send it off to someone to say, hey, do this, and this.
Right.
Whereas with, a lot of dental and medical, as soon as I get that floor plan, ceiling plan, all that stuff done, it's kind of, put it into the machine and go through the prototype steps, go through, A to Z type of thing. The last few are interior remodels that are changing this, but not changing this, but going here and doing this, which basically, I take my prototype notes and delete all of them and just start typing. What do I need to say? What's that? What's that one? That line's this? There you go. Do this. Oh, crap. If you do that, you have to do this. It's actually just thinking through the project, steps time. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how well this works.
You know what? I think I'm looking just as forward to it because we've talked about it so much, and it's something that you've been so thoughtful about, and you've done a lot of your own homework and your own digging, and it's just a conversation we've had so much, and I know you've been working toward it, and it's really exciting.
And once again, it's not going to be a thing, and I think I had to get over that patience type of thing, realizing, hey, it's still going to take maybe 4 hours of my time, but it's not taking 12 or 16 hours of my time.
Right.
And that extra time, can go one of two ways. It can go to, having more client time. It can go to having maybe some of that is actually family time. What?
Who?
What? Who? Maybe it's it's just getting that extra time where maybe I can spend a little more time on some other things and really honing them in.
Right.
And really getting, instead of focusing, I would say probably about 70% of my energy is on engineering and 30% on the architecture. Maybe I can start going, maybe a 60-40 or a 50-50 type thing. Sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well it works. But once again, it's also patience.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to work the first time perfectly.
Right.
But it's,
No, absolutely.
It's starting once again.
Which is awesome.
It's putting that first foot forward, just like anything. It's the hardest part to do. Yep. It's that, letting go of that documents, letting go of that thing you've always done before. And you're still overseeing it. It's not like it's totally out of your life, but, and then kind of getting it back and saying, hey, you guys did a good job. I only have to, correct this, this, and this. And then once I do that, hey, I can provide you better.
Right.
not you personally.
Yeah, no, I got it.
But I can provide that service.
Right.
The more information of what is there, and then you just kind of hone it down.
Yeah.
So.
I'm really excited about these episodes, especially over the coming month or two, maybe even 3, because you and I are at really interesting places in our business. Of course, Lineworks is much more established than 2-Second Media. 2-Second Media is much newer. So you're going through some evolutions in your business and growth in your business after how many years? I always forget how long.
It's been 10 years.
10 years. So you're already a decade old, very established. You've got a reputation. You've got name recognition that's out there. More importantly, you've got, you call it your prototype. I call it processes. You've got that established. And now your business is going through this evolution with that, where my business is still an infant, right? And we're going through the early evolutions that just happen with a business. Our businesses are they're similar in a lot of ways.
Surprisingly so. Yeah.
They are. It's kind of funny.
Really.
They're different in others where my personnel is going to be a higher personnel count than what you would really need for what you're doing until you really start growing. So my personnel count is going to start growing a lot quicker. So, I mean, already with account executives, looking to bring 12 account executives on here over the next year. Then the production staff will start to grow. Well, actually, not then. It'll be kind of at the same time. Production will start. Yeah, exactly. So, as long as we're bringing in good account executives, right? So, hopefully, that's the goal, right? Is that the production needs to increase. So, we're both at really interesting places. We're both looking at the potential of changing locations, moving from kind of in our house to now getting an office location. There's just so many different things. And these are all things that businesses deal with every single day out there, right? And I think there's so much value, so much valuable content that we're going to be able to produce just by sitting down talking about our day, right?
Well, exactly. And just going about, hey, what happened today? Yeah. What's the new thing that we learned today?
Yeah.
I mean, if you would have told me 12 years ago, Scott, you're going to own your own firm, I would have said,
right.
I don't believe it because, I'm happy where I'm at.
Right.
Then, of course, downturn and all that. And I was like, wow. But I went back to 2008 because, I've saved everything to flash drives and all that, for a second thing. And I was like looking at it like I only had 10 projects in 2008, and now I look here, for 2018, my project count totaled 46.
Wow.
Now, granted, maybe probably 5 or 6 of those never went, but still that's
like a 4 times growth.
But that growth and all that, sometimes I want to look back and say, how did we survive, with 8 projects, because at the same time, while I was working with a firm, we decided, hey, my wife is going to stay home and be with the kids.
Right.
And she has a job that she's a, part-time, what's that? Preschool. There you go. I was like, before school person. What? A preschool teacher.
Right.
And all that, which is great and all, but it's not exactly, bringing in the big bucks.
Right.
But, looking at that and going, well, geez, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
Where can this grow from there?
Yeah.
Type of thing. So it's kind of cool.
It is. And it's so funny because, I'm getting to reflect back when I opened my last agency so many years ago. And it's not until you, or for me at least, I mean, I'm only speaking to me personally, but it hasn't been until, here recently as I've started developing the sales program and started doing all the activities of, serious startup mode instead of really development mode. Because it really has been the past at least 10 months, 11 months since we've been open, a lot of development, not a lot of actually operating the business.
Gotcha.
Now that I'm actually getting into operating the business, I'm remembering a lot of those struggles. And you bring up that the pay and going back and the same thing, thinking back to the agency when we first started, the draw because I had a business partner at that time, the draw that we were taking on, maybe a monthly basis. It might have been biweekly. I can't remember how often or the frequency we were taking a draw. Probably monthly because we weren't making enough. We weren't making enough to be able to do it on a biweekly basis. But the amount, and Candace and I have talked about that before, where we just laugh. It's like, oh my God, we actually survived on that amount of money.
Right.
And at that same time is when we made the decision to start homeschooling our girls. And it's like all these life changes happened right then. We started the business right after the downturn, just like you did. I mean, it's just
right.
all these different things. And so now, getting 2 Second Media kicked off and started and going here and re-experiencing a lot of that. It's been humbling. It's been very challenging. It's reminded me of how much I do love startup. It's reminded me how much I hate startup. Right? I mean, it's that love and hate.
Wait for it. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, no, it's love and hate.
Right.
And it's like we had the episode. We talked multiple times on eating shit and how you've got to really you got to go through walk through the fire to get to the other side and all this kind of good stuff. And man, now being in the middle of it, it's like, okay. I remembered when we were talking about it, we talked about it, and I remembered all those lessons that I wish I would have had the first time around, and that's the kind of stuff that we were talking about. So now I'm having to apply those lessons in actual, practice now, and it's like, woo, man, it's
Preach it, brother.
It is so much easier to have a conversation and talk about, having patience and just allowing it to happen. It's very, very different when you're actually having to deploy the patience.
Putting it in practice.
And so that's kind of where I am now, is I'm in this struggle to keep my motivation up, to keep my head high, the whole deal, because it's like, oh my God, it's just so
but that
exhausting.
doesn't stop either.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, and I hate to say it,
but don't you think?
But
don't you think it does start getting a little bit? It changes. It's not that it.
I was going to say. Let me put this. It might be that the swells are less. Mm-hmm. Where you might have build it up and downs.
Yeah.
You're going to be going good for a while. Some up and downs, and then you might have a big up and down.
Sure.
But you come out of it usually. But they don't really stop. I mean, because like last week was terrible for me.
Right.
I had huge. It was just hard.
Need a hug?
It was tough. I need a hug. Never mind. No, just kidding. You do not solve problems with this, by the way.
Hug the scotch.
Hug the scotch. But it was just one of those things that there comes a point where everything doesn't seem to become crashing down, but oh man, that's happening. You kind of get down on yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, only way for me to get to dig out of these is to address that issue, and slowly bring yourself up out of it.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But once again, I want to say yes, there's a light at the tunnel, because then you're realizing, hey, if I do X, Y, and Z, then I can get off these jobs and go to these next jobs, which will hopefully be profitable, et cetera, et cetera. Go for there.
Yeah.
Different weeds.
Exactly.
For the different time that you're in there.
And I think
maybe the weeds aren't as high.
Right.
But they're still there, and it's like
and it's exactly. It just becomes different, right? I mean, it just, because the business evolves, it's growing, your problems change, right? So where you're struggling to, in the very beginning at startup, like where I'm at right now, just struggling to get consistency in revenue, like, is a big thing in startup. Is as you said, I always call it the roller coaster, right? And it's always the roller coaster of sales, and what you try to avoid, and it only happens over time. In my experience so far, it's only happened with time, is that you get all of these leads in, right? And then you start getting all this revenue in, and you're done with the project, and now you got to get all the leads back in, and you got to, and then you got to get, and what you do or at least what I have found, and what I'm doing at this point now, is how to level that out for me and my business, is bringing in that additional personnel. If I'm running the sales and I'm running the production and the business side, those valleys are going to be incredibly deep, and the hills are going to be really high, because I'm but one person, right? I can't. I mean, yes, we all have to wear multiple hats, but heads are only so big. You can't wear as much of a you'd like to think that we can wear multiple hats at one time. really you can't. It's like
there comes a point where something has to give.
Exactly. So anyway, yeah, I mean, one of the biggest lessons that hit me between the eyes this past week was, and we even had an entire episode, negativity creates negativity, right? So you have all these challenges that hit you. You have all these different things that you're having to work through. And, this past week I've been trying to wrap up a project and get all of the sales stuff squared away and put together, writing a good job description to place the ad, which we did this week, and then start receiving those resumes and start planning all that. And it just seems like every time you get a step forward, there's 2 steps back to get. It's like, oh my God, and you feel like you're not really getting anywhere at any time. And what ends up happening, and of course now we just passed April 15th, so it's tax time. I've said since the beginning of becoming an entrepreneur that I've always wanted to take the month of April off and go on vacation and just disappear and pass over files to an account and just don't even just close my eyes and leave and just disappear. And December's our worst month in marketing because we produce everything prior to Christmas, so everything gets produced in November. Right. And then December, nothing happens. We're just dead to the world. So I've always wanted to take the entire month of December and the entire month of April, or December to April, one or the other. But no, that's not true. But yeah, so I mean, so we've had.
For you.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. But yeah, so you've hit tax time, so we've had all that crap that we've been doing. So I mean, it's on and on and on and on. Right, we're a corporation, so we have to do our articles of incorporation every single year. We've got to do all the mess that comes with that. So it's just this constant step forward, 2 steps back, and it's so easy. And I even caught myself getting into that trap where it's crap, that happened. Oh crap, that happened. Oh crap, right. Now that happened. And now what in the world? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, all this negativity is creating more negativity. Right. I'm literally going to have to create a break. I'm going to have to stop that negativity somewhere and start with something being positive. I got to find something positive somewhere, right, to be able to break that cycle of negativity. And again, it comes back to that. It's easy to talk about. It's a lot harder to put that into practice. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it really is truly like for negativity, creating negativity and just building on itself. It really is just finding that breaking point. Oh. And, I've talked to so many people who struggle with this too, where it just seems like something bad happens, right? Whatever it is, at any, scale of bad. It may not be like life-shattering. It may just be something simple. Yeah. So you've got that one negative thing that happens at whatever scale. But then now the next thing happens, and now the next thing. And it becomes this pattern. And you get to a point where it's like, oh my God, is this even worth it anymore? Like, do I even really like what I'm doing every day? You start questioning everything. And I think that actually is applicable in every area of life, not even just business. I think it's applicable in even our normal everyday life. I've met so many people through the years that everything possibly bad happens to that person. Everybody knows that person, right? Their car broke down, and then they lost their job, and then they got sick and had to go into the hospital, and then their dog died, and then it's like a country music record.
I know you're going to throw the dog dying in there somewhere, because it's true. That stuff just happens all at once.
And it just keeps happening, and everything, and it's just more and more and more and more, and it just grows and grows. And you're looking at them going, holy crap, like, how are you, like, so unlucky, right?
How are you sober? Type of thing.
True that. But I think it's that cycle that ends up happening. It's that craziness of where it just builds on top of itself, and the only way to stop that pattern is to put a break in there somehow or another. Put something and create something good. And every situation is different. There's I don't think there's a formula to say this is how you make something good happen.
Right.
It's, well, what's your situation? I mean, every situation is different. But for ourselves, we've got to figure out how to make that break, how to split from constant negativity to finally something good happening. And this past week, again, like I said, it's kind of been a real life reminder for me is with all the stuff piling up there. It was like, I gotta watch myself. I'm gonna get into that pattern if I'm not careful, and so anyway,
that was beautiful, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That was beautiful.
What else is going on with you?
I don't know. Life is good. Kids are good.
Yeah,
that's
a good thing. I'm going on vacation.
Started and stopped a diet. Yay, rah. That was nice.
It didn't last at all. But you know what's funny is now that I have stopped on the diet, like I was what was it? What is that called? I was doing keto? The low calorie diet, not keto. Oh, no, I was doing a low calorie diet, and epic fail. I mean, it was just I couldn't stick to it to save my life. I come off the diet. I've lost more weight since I've come off the diet than I did while I was on it.
See, but that's a good thing because and once again, I'm realizing I just need a lifestyle change.
That's exactly
from what I did, and I look at the things that I'm doing bad, and I've decided, for the next 2 or 3, 4 weeks, just one thing, just cut out one thing.
Yeah.
Next week, cut out that other thing.
Yeah.
Next week, hey, why don't you add in, I don't know, exercising?
Interesting, huh?
What an idea,
Right.
And once again, I don't have to exercise for like 2 hours like I did when I was a teenager. I don't think I could do that anymore, and all. But yeah, it's just getting that. And once again, I don't want to say balance. I just want to say harmony.
Yeah.
Like we had talked about before. Life is always going to be out of balance. You'd be wanting to do something, but just more of a harmony.
Right.
Where, you can get back into something and something else gives, but this, it's just a flow. That's all I want to see.
I don't know why in the world. Actually, I know exactly why.
We have an infiltration in the
of
in
moths
in the studio.
Moth eye.
Mothra. Get Godzilla. No, just kidding.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I am going on vacation out of the country.
Bless you, sir.
Not even. I mean. Completely off the grid.
Sorry.
Completely off the grid. No cell phone, no email, no social media. Absolutely nothing for an entire week. Man, I'm telling you, that's what's getting me going. I think that was the break, is that I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going on vacation in a couple of weeks. I'll tell you, though, I am the world's worst at planning vacations because we're doing a cruise, and down to Mexico. We have not done a West Coast cruise yet, so this will be our first West Coast. Everything that we've done has been out of the East Coast. So this is the first time since we've been over on the West Coast that we're doing a West Coast cruise. So I'm pretty excited about that. But we started the planning for the – well, actually, we paid for the cruise like 2 months ago. Yeah, maybe even 2.5 months ago. It's been a bit. Almost every week since then, Candace and I have talked about – should we call the cruise company and ask them if we can go earlier? Can we bump up our day? Like, I can't wait that long for. There's no long-term planning
Chris.
For me. No,
patience,
not with
Chris.
vacation.
Patience.
But you know what? This has been an exercise in patience for me because I've had to sit and stinking wait all this time. But it's finally coming up. Thank Jesus, it's finally coming up. And so I'm going to enjoy a nice. Completely, this was the first vacation that has not been connected to a swim meet. Right, we've had a couple of swim meets where we traveled and we added a day on the front of the back end or whatever, but really a true vacation where there is nothing but vacation in the forecast, right? It's the first one in a while.
See,
it's been about a year.
Cruises, I've gone on a cruise or two, and those are just the most relaxing because it's
kidding?
Like, when do you want to eat?
Oh my God!
Yeah, let's go and eat. Yeah, they have the set times and all that, but you can really go eat at a buffet really anytime you want to.
Yeah.
You could. I mean, it's just.
Soft serve ice cream.
Chill.
I mean, it is. It's like there is no. If you have not gone on a cruise, you've got to go on a cruise, and really. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, Royal Caribbean's better than Norwegian or Norwegian's better than Carnival. Dude, forget. Just go on a cruise.
Just go on.
It doesn't matter. Just go on one. They're all awesome.
they're all awesome. And at the same time, it's just one of those things. it's not like Disneyland where you have to go do the rides and all of that. It's just a time for you to literally relax.
Right.
It's a time for you to just chill. Lay out on the patio, pool deck. Lay out by the spa. Go walk around the deck. The ocean is amazing.
Yeah.
When you go into dock, it's not like the Love Boat where everyone's, throwing streamers and all that anymore or anything like that. But it's just fun. It's amazing to watch these things. And yeah, every place offers excursions and go do that and go do that.
Right.
Don't pack your day so full that you're, oh my gosh, we have to get back. Oh my gosh, we have to do this. Oh my gosh, we have to do this. Take the time, dude.
Yeah.
Take the time, because let me tell you, those are the vacations, especially when you're going with family. Those are the things that are and memories that are going to last.
Well, my favorite thing on the cruise is I like going up to the top and the front.
Buffet?
No, the top and the front, and just sitting there and just letting the wind just hit you in the face. It's like you can't hear anything. It's just the sound is over the.
Right.
I love white noise anyway, so the sound of wind is just something great for me anyway. And just sitting there, day or night, I don't really care. I just love sitting there. It's so
but it's
relaxing.
looking at the vastness of it too. I mean, too often, we can't see, a horizon. We see buildings in front of us. We see whatever. We can't see the forest through the trees. And looking at the ocean and just seeing this line of water, and you just realize how huge this world is. Yeah. And it's just...
It's special.
It's special, man.
It really is.
It's special.
And it is.
Damn it, I want to go on a cruise now. You bastard.
Yeah.
You bastard.
Less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks, brother. Woo-hoo. Okay. Hey, I got a shout out. I want to make a shout out today to a very good friend of mine who I met when we moved here. I don't know how soon after it was that we moved here that I met him and his wife, and quite frankly, I don't remember if I met him or his wife first. But Jeff and Serena Webb. Jeff is a videographer. Serena was an incredibly talented graphic designer. I did some work with them when we first came out here. They have, I want to say maybe a year or so ago, purchased Key, what is it called? Key Travel magazine. They're the publishers of that, the Arizona Key Travel magazine, and he also owns Key 360 Media is the name of his company. And just reached out to him. I don't even know what I'll reach out to him for. He does some aerial stuff, and I was talking to him about some aerial stuff the other day, and he and I have touched base periodically, but just looked at the stuff that they're doing there at Arizona Key Travel magazine, and for small businesses who are looking for I don't know, a little inside tip or a hint on where they can spend a relatively small amount of marketing dollars and get a really great punch. This is one of those places that you can do that. It's community style magazine. It's kind of like that. But it's they are doing some really incredible stuff. They're starting to do some live stuff. Oh, cool. Serena is a million times better than you and I are at it. So she completely embarrasses us. But hey, you know what? They're
so please go to her site so you can see how bad we are.
Yeah, so yeah. You. Just go to Comparison and laugh at us. Good but those guys are awesome. They're just two uber talented people. I had a chance to reconnect with him the other day, and that's I just want to shout out to him and say, what up? And go check those guys out because they're really cool. I'll put a link to their information in the description after this thing wraps up, or probably a comment. I'll do it in the comments. Okay. So just look for that and go visit those guys out.
Well, what's going on? Anything else with you? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness? Vacation, all 2 weeks.
All of the above.
Yeah. Vacation, 2 weeks. Did I mention vacation, 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's the most important thing that's happening. But yeah, I mean, it's right now the biggest thing for me from the standpoint of 2 Second Media is the hiring the account executives. So if you know anybody who would like to be an account executive in an advertising agency,
please see the comments
below. But yeah, so that's going to be a major focus of mine over the coming month or so is just going to be pushing that really hard and getting some really talented people in for that, being very picky for these positions. and not just bringing random salespeople in. So that's going to be a lot of focus. Certainly, vacation coming up is a big deal. Kylie is prepping for a swim meet. I believe it is going to be in Oregon. So we are, so we're getting ready for that. Long course season is starting for her. Ashlyn's getting hot and heavy in volleyball now. So her and I have been practicing some volleyball because I did a little bit of intramural volleyball in college. So I'm an expert, obviously. So
it was college. Of course, I was an expert.
Right? I mean, it was intramural volleyball in college.
There's no cake. Where's the cake? No, just kidding.
Actually, the only reason I even started playing was for a girl, and then I actually enjoyed it. It was fun.
Well,
and
same reason why I went into drama in high school. Found out, hey, I kind of enjoy this. Anyway,
and it's a side benefit that Sally Sue is in here. But anyway. That was not her name, by the way, Sally Sue. But but regardless,
we changed the names to protect the innocent that they know us.
Exactly. That's to protect the innocent. But so just oh man, Kylie. Actually, the cruise is part vacation. I would say about 20-25% vacation, about 75% celebrating Kylie's Sweet 16.
Awesome.
So her birthday, Kyle is 17 now, right?
Yes,
he just turned
Kyle
17.
just turned 17. Tax day.
Good grief.
That's our boy, tax boy.
But hey, it's been a reminder over the past 7 years, right? It's been more of a celebration. But you've only got one more year, right? Well, no, you'll get a little bit when he's in college, right?
And once again, I think tax codes are, if you can prove that they're still, never mind. Go see an accountant for that.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Don't come to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
awesome.
Staying busy. Oh my gosh. You have got to go to my social media channel. Just go to Facebook. Go to my Facebook, my personal Facebook page, and look at our dog. Candace.
Oh my God.
Trimmed we have an oversized Yorkie. He's full-blooded Yorkie. And he's just oversized. He was the big dog in the litter. He sorry.
That was funny. That was nice.
I didn't even mean to do that. Hey, nice. But she trimmed him because she's always loved doing that. So she bought the whole kit and the trimmer and all this. So she's always loved doing that. And he has a mohawk now. So it is.
So he has
hilarious.
A dog hawk.
It's a dog hawk.
It's a dog hawk.
It's a Yorkie with a dog hawk. It's actually pretty funny. So that was enjoyable today. So yeah.
Please don't have any of the animal cruelty places call.
Animal cruelty. It's summer is coming on out here. Need to trimming back anyway, and it's just a single strip of hair, right? That's the petting hair.
We stopped for it right there because you had to change out the clipper, and isn't that nice? Phone rang. Hey, I got to go take care. No, just
something like that.
That is awesome.
That works. It's pretty funny. Go to my social media. I'm pretty sure. No, I know I do have. I know I have the picture up there, so I go there and look at that. Anything else?
I think I'm good, my friend.
Okay. Hopefully that wasn't the intro was a little bit better. The entry, not intro, but the entry into the live was a little bit better.
The entry
for
into
everybody.
The intro.
Yeah, something to that effect. Hopefully there wasn't this huge lag that's been there. That's been frustrating. There was like the first week, I think we had like 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Seriously?
Actually, it might have been like 6 minutes where it just sat there. It was just that about to go live. Everybody's like, oh, bull, he's not going live.
Kind of like my website for the last 10 years.
Hey, yeah. About to go live? Yeah. Under construction.
Under construction.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that wraps up this week. Scott, as always, man, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nice to talk.
Thank you.
I love these little updates. We need to do this more often where there's not like a set topic. It's just us chatting about what's going on. I enjoy that.
I think, I mean, every once in a while, because once again, just this update is going to create a topic.
Yeah.
Because something happened this week. Amazingly something happens every blessed week.
That's what's supposed to. Right?
I mean that in a happy way too. Did that not sound positive? I think that sounded. Am I creating negativity? I'm creating a little negativity.
Patience, my friend. Just have patience, right? Patience, my friend. All right, guys. Have a very productive week, and we will see you back here. I don't know. Are we good for Monday or? What are we going to be Monday or Tuesday next week?
Probably Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay. What a great commitment.
Maybe Tuesday or Monday.
It could
I don't
be. Know. I'm not sure. Yeah, it'll either be Monday or Tuesday that we have
coming
these.
off of Easter weekend and all. You never know.
That's true. So, it is Easter weekend, so everybody enjoy that. Everybody with
definitely.
little kids, have fun with
have
that
fun.
because
enjoy the moment.
Yeah,
it really. I mean, because they don't last.
No, they don't.
Talking with parents with teenagers and all. Although they're still awesome, they're still fun. I never regret, having kids or anything like that. But, kind of those cute moments.
Boy, there's a lot of setup there. Easter is great. Easter is great for the little kids as soon as they start growing up. Like our tradition has now become just, is it a boiled egg or is it a raw egg?
Exactly.
Challenge. I mean, that's really they don't look for eggs. We're smashing eggs in our head.
Before, remember coloring all of them? And doing special designs. We'd have friends over and we'd have other kids coloring them all together.
It's
and then,
project.
Whatevering. Now, we still color some Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But it's become a thing now of how well I can hide them so Kyle can't find them.
That's funny.
But the problem is I've learned to write down where I hid them.
You have to.
That's the big thing because there was one, I think 2 years ago I could not find. And I think I found it like 2 or 3 days later, thank God. But,
That would have been fun.
That would have been like, what'd the dog do? It's like,
you would have definitely found it.
Yeah.
You would have definitely found it, just not the way you wanted to. Exactly. All right, we're out of here. Have a great week again. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Peace out.
Thanks.
All right.
Nicely done.